I didn't think I'd say this, but there are parts of Bratz that I thought they were actually really good. However, the narrative is questionable and chaotic and a bit of a mess. But what I really liked are the characters and their personalities, and I'll explain that a bit. But this was released in 2007, directed by Sean McNamara, screenplay by Susan Estelle Jansen, and this focuses on Sasha, Jade, Cloe and Yasmin, the four main Bratz, obviously based on the Bratz dolls. I grew up with Barbie. I think Bratz became really popular when I was about 12 and, no longer really in the doll's age. But I always loved their fashion sense. Each doll also has a different fashion style, which I think is something that's really great for, appealing to children with all kinds of different interests. And that's what I love about these characters. All four of them, first of all, are very different, but they're also very passionate about things. One of them's into football, one of them loves cheerleading, one of them's, exceptionally intelligent and loves science, and that's great. And one of them, of course, is really into fashion, because I had went into this expecting for people who were very much just into fashion and their looks and their appearances and didn't care about education. That's kind of what I expected. So when I was given something different and actually a lot more inspiring and actually decent role models, I thought that was really great and definitely not something I was expecting. The narrative could have been good, but it was just too messy. I think the last kind of 20 minutes, the whole thing is about an hour and 40, I think. An hour and 50 according to IMDb. So it's actually quite long for a PG movie of this caliber. But basically it's all about these four girls who are all part of these different cliques at high school, and they realise that they drift apart because of this, and they decide that shouldn't happen. Meanwhile, they're battling with Meredith, who is she is the ultimate plastic. She cares about her looks and her appearance and, what I was expecting from the Bratz, basically. And she's an awful spoiled little girl, but she does have, well, I won't say too much, but there is a lavish party at some point, and it is insane. I don't know how much they spent on the set designs and the props and, the costumes, but visually, they've put a lot of work into this, and I think it's very kind of appealing, easy to view and very nice to look at. But the problem is the narrative. There's a talent show, that's one of the subplots, but it's kind of only mentioned a few times until towards the end, and it doesn't allow as much building up. It's just not good. It's kind of important to the narrative development, but they needed to sow the seeds a bit more. If they focused less on that party and more on that, it would have been a bit more balanced, and I think it would have worked a bit more. Also, because it is obviously heavily fashion-led, the girls, although having different interests, do love fashion. After the first 10 minutes, it kind of dropped that aspect of their personalities, apart from with the one who is a fashionista. But the rest of them kind of never expressed a love of fashion so much after that, which I thought was kind of a bit of poor character writing. For the most part, the characters are really well written, but I guess the development of the characters isn't as good as it could be. So there are a lot of things about this film that are not good. There are a lot of things about this film that are good. It's very much balanced in that respect. The fact that it's got 3.1 out of 10 on IMDb and is the lowest rated movie, number 56, doesn't make sense to me. It is not that bad. I have seen a lot worse films. There are actually things about this that worked quite well. So I'd say if you're the target audience, you'll probably enjoy it. I really praise the fact that the girls, even though they're into fashion and things, what you'd expect from a Bratz movie, they're actually really inspiring and great role models, and that's something that just I will always praise. I enjoyed it, for the most part. I wouldn't watch it again. I didn't fall completely in love with it, but it was much better than I'd predicted. I think if you're the target audience, you'll enjoy it. If you're watching it, as a film fan from a slightly more analytical perspective, well, I think hopefully you'll find it balanced. You know, it's got the good, it's got the not so good, but ultimately, you know, the acting's really good. I was impressed with the acting. The casting works well mostly. Some were not exactly what I would have envisioned when casting them, but that's not the actor's fault. They've got a job to do and they've done it well. The fashion's actually alright. As I said, the fashion kind of takes a back seat at some point, and it's not in keeping with the Bratz ethos, and I think they needed to work on that a little bit. Ultimately, not the worst film, doesn't deserve to be in the bottom rated movies. I thought it was pretty good.